We got some MVP odds favorites over here. I believe I have the sportsbettingdime.com MVP odds. And in particular order from fifth to first, I have Steph Curry. I have Luka Doncic. I have Nikola Jokic. I have Joel Embiid. And oddly enough, they have LeBron James winning this year's MVP if it were to end right now. So, your thoughts?
I mean, I don't think LeBron is really in the MVP contention right now, simply because ever since AD's been out with that Achilles slash calf injury that he's been recovering from for the last couple of weeks, the Lakers haven't been playing really that well. They've lost probably the last 5 out of their last 6 games. And if LeBron really wanted to insert himself into the top of the MVP discussion at this point, it would be a lot more different had they won probably 4 or 5 out of their last 6 games instead of losing those games. And just the way that I see it currently, I just don't think LeBron's really done enough to put himself at the top of the MVP race. But as it stands right now, my current MVP up to this midpoint in the season is Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid has been absolutely dominant this year. So just to kind of look at his stats just from this year alone, he's averaging over 30 points a game. He's shooting over 52% from the field, over 41% behind the three-point line, which is just absolutely ridiculous that a 7'1" big man is averaging over 40% behind the three-point line this year. And then to go on top of that, he has over 11 and a half rebounds per game, and he's also averaging almost 1.5 blocks per game. He's been absolutely sensational, just like I mentioned. And he's been a huge factor to why the 76ers are the number one team in the Eastern Conference right now. I think with him, and then also with the addition of Doc Rivers coaching the 76ers this year, you have seen huge progression steps from Joel Embiid and the entire team as well, but specifically Joel Embiid, because I think you and I both have thought that Joel Embiid can be this type of player. Now that he has the right coach around him to coach him up properly, he is now playing at a superstar level. There are no more concerns about whether his cardio is an issue or his overall endurance is an issue anymore. He seems to be in great shape right now, and he's playing his ass off right now. So you got to give him a lot of respect for the numbers that he's putting up, and it's showing on the win and loss column as well.
Absolutely. I mean, Joel Embiid has been pretty much playing up to par. This is kind of like we talked about. He's playing finally at a level that we all wanted him to coming out of Kansas. We do know that the injuries early on in his career, the minutes, the health, pretty much everything that you said was in question, kind of having everybody like, will he ever reach his full potential? And also reiterating what it is you just said, when you have a coach like Doc Rivers that knows how to manage a superstar with an ego, that knows how to manage a superstar that quite frankly, is the entire team. Not that Philly can't win without Joel, but they would obviously diminish their chances of bringing any type of relevance to the city without him. So, I mean, when you have someone like Doc Rivers, who's coached the likes of Tracy McGrady in Orlando, Chris Paul, DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin, all of them in LA, you had the original big three and Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, and Paul Pierce, and all of those teams succeeded. Obviously, only one of them winning a championship in Boston in 2007, 2008. But he knows how to manage a player that has a little bit of an attitude, a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. And we all know Joel Embiid has been very vocal over the last couple of years and very, expressive of how he feels that the league needs to be or how talented he believes that he truly is. So when you combine an experienced veteran head coach like Doc Rivers, the playing style and capabilities of Joel Embiid, and surrounding them with a good team with the likes of Tobias Harris, Seth Curry, and so on and so forth. Obviously, Ben Simmons, of course, despite Ben's inability to shoot, you really have a great, great team, and that's why they're heading up the top of the Eastern Conference. And it's no surprise, but the numbers that Joel's putting up this season, he's having a very Hakeem Olajuwon slash, Wilt Chamberlain almost year. Obviously, he's not scoring 100 points. He's not averaging like 38 and 15. But I mean, he's putting up numbers that we haven't seen from a big man in quite some time in terms of consistency this year. And the numbers behind the arc, the percentages are out of this world. So it only just continues to support his campaign for MVP.
So do you have him as your favorite for MVP right now, or do you have somebody else?
Personally, I have Joel Embiid, but it's not as big of a margin as a lot of people have, and I know that you're going to agree with me. My number two, this man Nikola Jokic is hooping out of his damn European Slovenian mind. We got Nikola Jokic out here averaging 27, 11, and 8.6 rebound, 8.6 assists a game, shooting just under 57% from the field at 56.9. He's shooting 41.7% from the three-point line, and he's shooting 88.5% from the free throw line. Like,
Crazy. It's
again,
crazy.
another 7-footer. But my thing with Jokic is he also knows how to distribute the basketball. Jokic is probably the best passing big I have ever seen in my life, because we grew up in an era where the back to the basket center was obviously coming to an end with the stretch four, and most recently within the last half decade or so, playing small ball, having a center that can shoot. But obviously in our era, the big man was always the guy down low. We grew up in an era where Shaq was dominant. We grew up in an era where Yao Ming was a presence in the post. But you have 7-footers coming from overseas or being trained out of high school, you got to be able to shoot the basketball. Absolutely. And similar to Joel Embiid, this guy's averaging 41% from the three-point line. And I mean, like, he's doing it on every aspect of the manner that needs to be done from the center position. But he can bring the ball up. Like, what 7-footer brings the ball up and knows how to make moves and run the offense? Like, I've never seen it before. And I think if Denver finds a way to surge up from the 7th seed, find a way to get their chemistry going, some injuries have been plaguing them for a little bit. If Jokic can kind of bring those numbers up a little bit around the 30 mark per game, and if he can get around 9.4, almost averaging a triple-double as a 7-footer, I think that he takes it from Joel, because he's doing more than just scoring. He's doing everything.
I think, like you mentioned, I think the only thing that's really holding him back, probably from the top spot in the MVP race at this point, is the fact that Denver is. Did you say that they're the fifth best team? Oh, they're the 7th.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So they've got some work to do. Look, it's the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets are a very talented team, obviously with Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic leading the way, and I could realistically see that they could probably crack the top 5 in the Western Conference this year. But the main thing is they have to be healthy, because I know what they can do in the playoffs. Last year proved that they are really capable of making a deep playoff run against some really competent teams in the Western Conference, and even pushed the Lakers to a tough 5-game series against the Lakers last year. The Lakers had to earn all of those wins in the Western Conference Finals. And in large part, it was because of Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray playing just out of their minds.